Hey everybody, welcome back to the JK Man podcast. Kind of piggybacking off of last week's episode, except instead of road rage, this is talking about some stories, whether it be me in the past or like some people I know drinking and driving or driving high. Obviously, it's not safe. That's why not only do I not do that type of shit anymore, I also, when I would years and years ago, I would try to stay home as much as possible. But sometimes, as you know, you're not thinking clearly, whether it be the booze or the weed or whatever. But it also, sometimes it can be scary, sometimes it can be interesting, or sometimes just straight up funny. Like, for instance, as far as some of the bad experiences I've had, there was one time years ago, a couple of buddies wanted to hang around for a little bit and talk and, just drink a couple of beers out of like the 12 pack or whatever they got from the gas station. So that way it's something light but nothing to get you hammered before you go home. So you can kind of like settle down a little bit. Just take the edge off. Well, my dumbass hadn't eaten at all that day, and most of my liquids was soda. So I was pretty dehydrated with an empty stomach. Bad combo. Regardless of being like a cheaper beer, I had more than I thought I did, and I was drinking them as if they were water. Needless to say, I went from normal to buzzed to fucking drunk within probably a good 15 minutes. And I still had to drive back to my hometown for something, which was I think, about 40 minutes away. So I started out fine, but then, aside from not feeling good, like you feel like you're gonna puke, I did have to stop a couple times thinking that. You're also paranoid because you got in your brain, even though these are smaller towns, there might be a cop or somebody that just notices you're a little off. So, after the couple of false alarms, I finally start getting going. And for the most part, I'm driving pretty good. But it feels like I'm taking fucking forever to get there. I wouldn't say things were slowing down, it just felt like the truck wasn't moving in a sense because the beer was hitting me more. I finally get close because I recognize a couple like landmarkers, like the water tower or some shit, or like, well, anyway, you know what I mean talking about, like any distinct thing that, oh shit, that means I'm close to home. But then the sleepies start getting caught up because that marker still told me that, yeah, I'm getting close, but I still got like 5+ miles to go. And I'm like, keep awake long enough to get there, long enough to get there. I finally get to where I need to go. I pull into a driveway and I just fucking fell asleep after I shut things off. I even left the heat on a little bit because it was a little bit colder at that time. And then I got woken up by a family member knocking on the glass because I think it was somebody I know's house. And they're like, "What you doing?" "Oh, I was just taking a nap." So that was one of my scary moments. But then you also get some funny ones too. Typically when you're not driving. Like, there was one time years ago I was with some buddies and we were all smoking. We get a great idea because it's not everyone, but whether it be smoking, drinking, or whatever, somebody always thinks, let's go for a drive. and they're driving around. They don't know where they're going. So we start going up and down like the college housing and stuff. Just trying to like shout out the windows and try to see if anybody will say something back. Just being idiots. Well, we were coming down a side street and I saw these two older people. They were sitting, or one was sitting on the sidewalk, like there's a stump there from a down tree, and her husband or whatever was picking something up, so he's bent over. In my brain, intrusive thoughts won because no worries about a thing. Because I rolled down that fucking window and I yelled, "Smack his ass!" The biggest smile and laugh came out of that woman's fucking face. It was priceless, and we all started dying in the car. And then, as far as stupid shit, same day, we stopped at a store. I thought it was just to get some snacks. No. They came back with some snacks, but then they also, or the one guy who's a really notorious stoner, like, smokes all day, every day, as much as he can, like he's got something to prove, but no one cares. He'd get, like, strawberries, or maybe a container of grapes, or something stupid like that. And randomly, while we're driving, "Oh, these are pretty good," rolls down the window, and then he fucking chuck a couple, see if he can hit anybody on the way. And he thought it was hilarious. Not necessarily driving, but another one of those same guys, another big thing that we like to do is drive to the fucking store, walk around the store for a little bit. Well, for some reason, when this one dude would get high, he would get like quiet, but also giggly. But then he'd get a little bit ballsy too, like just to piss people off. We'd get out of the car, start walking towards the store, and he goes, "Watch this." And he puts his hand in his pocket. It's the same thing every time. He just starts spamming his fucking lock button on his fob, making his car going boop, 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 and acting like, "Whose car is that?" And just trying to see how many people he can confuse. Sad part is, it fucking worked. Then there's some instances where not drinking is also kind of like being the hero of the day. Like there was one time, me and one of my brothers went to go on like some kind of a day to go tubing and shit, which we brought a floating cooler that had some drinks in it, so he was constantly picking on me like, "Why aren't you drinking more? You don't like the taste of alcohol, do you?" I go, "I'm on a river, and I also know that one of us is going to need to fucking drive." "Oh, you're just being a buzzkill. Quit being a pussy." It's like, why? Because I'm not drinking? Well, push come to shove, I had a couple more. I had a small buzz going, but then I just paced myself after that. I had brought like actual water and shit too, so I'm just doing that. And by the time we get off the tubing event, it's time to drive home. And he looks at me and goes, "You're gonna have to drive." I go, "No shit. That's exactly why I stopped drinking, because I knew you weren't gonna. And I would rather make it home than sleep in the fucking car." And then, "Oh, no, no. You just didn't want it. You don't like alcohol." And then we get down after he starts, like, talking and stuff like that, drunk rambling. I'm as sober as can be. He looks at me, starts giggling. He goes, "Thank God you didn't drink that much." I go, "Why?" "Because right now I can fucking see three of you. So, sorry about calling you a buzzkill. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to drive right now." I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of figured. You're welcome." And then, oh, fuck. There were a few times where I was on I think it was like a state tournament or whatever for men's league bowling or some shit where, as most do, you pregame a little bit on the way since you're not the one driving. So we didn't want to go ham, but we drank pretty much all of what was inside the cooler that we packed. And by the time we got to the hotel, that car ride started out as normal chit chat, people getting louder as usual when it comes to drinking. People too tend to get louder. And then we were laughing our asses off the entire fucking way there, especially once one of the teammates of mine was in the right next to the driver. He was to the point where he is just like in the movies where he's flopping around when he talks and making himself giggle, which was making us giggle. So by the time we get to the fucking hotel, we're stumbling out of the van, but we're giggling our asses off. And then the driver, who, was staying sober, basically had to corral us like little kids in kindergarten. Now you behave. I don't want you embarrassing me because we're here now and you're adults. Act like it. Yes, ma'am. We go inside. One of us cracked a joke. And then she tried to snap at us again. It's like, oh well. But then I did have a couple of instances where thankfully I wasn't the one driving, but I was at a party of some form and I decided to indulge, but I didn't realize that I overdid it. Plus I mixed drinks, big fucking problem. But I had somebody driving me home and I felt like I was gonna puke. So we pull over and I'm sitting there and I feel it like right here. Nothing. So let myself calm down. We get going, get like maybe a quarter mile up the road. Happened again. I held it a little bit longer. We got it maybe 2 miles up the road or so. Happened again. They start getting pissed because it was already late at night and we wanted to go home. Well, I can't help the fact that I drank too much. It was a mixture of like wine, beer, and some actual liquor like apple pie or some shit. Very, very bad combo. But again, thank God I wasn't the one driving. Because I bet you we pulled over at least 6 to 8 times because I was about to start heaving, but my body's like, no, we're just going to make you suffer and hope to God that it doesn't happen, but you'll never know. It's a secret. But at least by the time I got home, I could say that I did not puke, even though I felt like I really fucking needed to. So thank God that person was able to get me home without me doing it, because if I were to try to drive like that, it wouldn't be funny. It wouldn't be stupid. I'd probably be dead. But then you get some scary moments as a passenger as well. There was one time me and some friends, we were smoking, and the one dude owned a sports car. Again, oh, you want to go for a drive? Sure, why not? Especially since we just got done watching one of the Fast and the Furious movies in the fucking basement before leaving. Well, on some of the exit ramps and stuff in cities, you'll have like a loop-de-loop, and it's a pretty sharp turn. That's why they tell you to slow down. This fucking guy, oh, he's got a Dodge Charger. He's gonna give her it all and try to drift around the fucking corner to see if he can make it with a car full of people. And then he would try to like tease us with it. Want to do it? No! Want to do it? No! And then one day we said, fuck it, and just let him do it. He was so happy. We get on that ramp. And he's actually pulling it off, but you're still gripping onto the fucking door handle or the oh shit bar. And you're like, please don't crash, because we could fucking go over the railing and down and die. And he pulled it off. But the dumbass went, want to do it again? No, too bad. And then he did it again. Luckily, he pulled it off. Well, then we had this other guy in the group. He's the same one who was honking his fucking key all the time. He's a little bit of a copycat. So he goes out and gets a slightly newer, slightly more bells and whistles version of the same exact car in every way. Well, he wanted to be a show-off because that guy wasn't driving this time since it was his car. Same car, but the difference is the stoner dude, he has done shit with his tires so much to where they're still good, but they're smooth enough to where if you know what you're doing, even though I still don't think he does, you have a little bit more control. This dumbass just got it from the dealership like maybe a week ago. And all he's done is drive it to work. So it still has basically brand new fucking tires on it. And then he goes, let's do it. And he didn't even give anybody a vote. He just drove into that fucking roundy or loop-de-loop. And he started off okay, but then he swung a little bit too wide. He got nervous because his ass was getting close to the other side of the rail. And we started kind of freaking out a little bit. He tries to correct it, and he almost slams his passenger side headlight into the other guardrail. And then we yelled at him to just slow the fuck down and drive normal. Don't ever do that shit again. Then he felt like a big dumbass. So that was terrifying because not only could we have died, I felt like I was going to shit myself. And then once we got home, I did that same bullshit like you see in some of those like old sitcom movies or whatever you want to call them. You hop out of the vehicle, you flop onto the grass, you start kissing it and go, land, thank you, alive again. And then never hop back into the car with that dipshit. But then you also get to experience some shit as far as like the Rockfest thing goes. You always have it where, whether it be a party, a festival like Rockfest or something else, where you thought you packed enough booze. So you start drinking and drinking because, you know, it's never too early to have a beer at Rockfest or a party. Then you decide, oh, I'm hungry. I didn't pack any food. So let's go to the fucking gas station or the convenience store, see if they got anything. And then while you're on your way, you're trying to stay on the road, but you're swerving this way, swerving that way. You finally get to the store, almost fucking run over the little speed bump they got for you in the parking spot. And then you feel like you're inside that car for hours, but it's literally just down the road. You get into the store and you feel like you've been shopping all day just to find the right snack. And all you ended up going back out with is more beer or whatever you drink and maybe some jerky. So then you drive all the way back, trying to make it without swerving. And I think the most terrified I've ever been was probably there was a really bad storm going during one of the music festivals I attended. And we had already been drinking before that. So it was hitting us by the time the storm hit us. Well, I had two choices. Either go hold out at one of the gas stations or try to make it to the person I had with me's family's house, which was nearby, but it was still a ways away. But it was raining so hard you couldn't even fucking see the road. So imagine that while dealing with people constantly brake checking because they're nervous about, you know, driving straight while being completely shit-faced. Yeah, it took what should have been like maybe a 10-minute drive turned into almost an hour between waiting for the traffic to go, waiting for the weather conditions to subside, but also because of being drunk. Now, there's also some bittersweet moments that don't involve driving at all. I was at Rockfest. I managed to get my hands on a meet and greet to go take a picture with Adelaide's Way. Well, prior to that, ate breakfast, say 8:30 in the morning, started drinking about 9, and then drank clear until then with some water here and there. And I got to the point where I felt like I was a loose swinging plant with a fan blowing at it, just and then I get there, take the photo, try to pretend to be sober enough to where I don't look like a dipshit even though my face is red. We get back to the grounds and I sit there, I go, okay, I'll just sleep this off. Yeah, as soon as I closed my eyes, things started spinning. I would go from being overly hot to being super sweaty but also cold at the same time. I also felt like I needed to shit for some reason. But then I ended up getting that, oh shit, you're gonna puke. So I ran over to the trees because I camped out in the back so I'd have a little bit more quietness and privacy than up close. And I'm sitting there waiting for it to happen. And my brother and the guy from the campsite next to us start going and making all the noises. Well, they succeeded in their mission. They were laughing their asses off, but the girl I was with started yelling at them because they were being a little bit overboard, especially since I already puked at that point. My brother got the hint, but the guy didn't until she snapped at him and he kind of shut the fuck up. I think that was the first time I ever actually puked because of drinking too much. It almost made me wish that they allowed them to use your own personal golf cart at the grounds, because they have golf carts, but they're only for staff to deliver water, maybe a little taxi service, but it's probably for idiots like me or other ones where they think, well, if I had a go-kart, technically it's not a car, so I can drink and drive and I won't have any problems. Wrong. Because there was one time me and my brother went to go golf, and we started out with just a normal 6-pack of beer. But we also drank like a silo before getting to the golf course. We start drinking the beer, and I think we decided to play 18 holes that day. At one point, we forgot where the golf cart was because we would take turns driving it. Well, he would drive it over to where he's hitting the ball, and then I'm walking halfway down the green, or fairway. Then I get the cart, and then he's got to fucking walk. But then you try to stay on the cart path, and you're like, wait, we're only 3 holes in, and we got 1 left. How long till we get to the clubhouse? So we're acting like people lost with a paper map trying to find their location with a car. Where are we? I don't know. Don't hit the tree. There's people coming from the other way. So we finally play a couple more holes, drive up to the clubhouse, get another 6-pack. We're about 2/3 of the way through that one, and then we start fucking feeling it. Trying to drive the cart on the golf paths, and you're like, woo, and then some of those are pretty steep. We felt like we were almost about to knock the damn cart over at least twice. Not like jackass style, but pretty fucking close. Like there was another one where we just put our ball in the hole, and we were on to the next tee box. So I hop on the driver's seat because most of the time I do the driving. And I go, where's the next hole? He goes, I think it's over there. We're already starting to fucking slur and shit. I go down the hole, or the hill, is at a reasonable speed, so nothing bad would happen. But drunk me has tunnel vision, and I didn't notice that not only did it slightly drop off about a half a foot, there was also a cart path down that hill. So there was another like 6 to 8 inch drop. So I start going down the hill. He goes, "Oh shit!" And we end up jumping it because there was just enough of a lip where the path is supposed to cut through the ground that we jumped over it, but the back tire still slammed onto the cart path, but we made it over. I go, yeah, next time let's take the normal way because shortcuts, they're not cool. He goes, yeah, don't do that again. Next time I'll drive the cart. Or I was golfing with a different buddy and we were taking turns driving the cart, but he was the one who liked smoke like the carts or whatever. And back then I smoked like the regular shit. And we would be golfing and everything felt like we were in slow-mo, which sucked because, rate of play. Well, at one point we started zipping around with the golf cart and playing the holes so fast. We were actually like 2 to 3 holes ahead, which even surprised the people behind us because they were holding everyone else up. Well, we're trying to drive the cart and we're trying to figure out why the cart won't move. It's like, oh shit, did it run out of gas or juice, depending on which golf course you go to? Sometimes it's fuel, sometimes it's electric. Well, we're doing everything we could, and the dumbass, because he was so high, he treated it like it's his own personal vehicle. Takes the fucking key out of the ignition and puts it in his pocket, and then forgets to set the parking brake. So he's trying to figure out why the cart won't start, and then we start rolling down the hill. He slams on the brake. I go, it's because you didn't set the parking brake. Now, turn the fucking thing on. I can't. Why? I don't know where the key is. Check your pockets. Sure as shit, there they were. I go, how about you put the pen away? Sit in the passenger seat and take a breather, buddy. We'll get there. You can fly in the rocket ship passenger style. So then by the time we got to the next hole, he kind of mellowed out a little bit. So we went back to swapping with who's driving. Then there was only one time where I was a passenger while somebody was drunk driving. And that was kind of nerve-wracking as well, because we had like an hour drive, and they said that they were fine, and I didn't. I think I just had my permit at the time. And I go, well, I can't drive regardless, so I need you to be more sober than I am. He goes, oh, we'll be fine. Well, he drinks a little bit too much. So we start going, and he's kind of like bobbing and weaving a little bit, and I tried to getting him to focus a little bit more, and then he was doing fine for a little while, but then he started getting the sleepies. So he started riding over the line. I had to keep nudging him awake. And then by the time we finally got to our destination, I just got out of the car, didn't say a fucking word to him. And that was, he backed out and then left. The next day, he's like, oh, I'm so fucking sorry. I knew I drank too much. I go, and I specifically asked you not to since you were my ride home. And yet here we are. Needless to say, I'm not going out with you again. And you got all these other chuckleheads out there that think they're like Cheech and Chong here. They think, oh, I can smoke as much as I possibly can and it'll be fine. So they start driving, and like most people who smoke weed, you tend to drive slower because you feel like you're going so fast, especially when you get that slow-mo feel or when you feel like you're fucking paralyzed. And I've had that a couple of times where I'm coming back from going uptown. I'm a little bliffed already. Is that even a word? Anyway. And I feel like I'm driving so fucking fast. I'm constantly looking for if anybody's going to notice me or if I'm going to get in trouble. I'm constantly riding the brakes, and all of a sudden I hear, huh, kind of woke me up a little bit because, you're in a fog. So you have a brief moment of sobriety, and you look at the thing, and you're going like 10 under. And you're like, I thought I was almost there. No wonder it's taking so fucking long. So you finally get to the store, and then you walk around enough to wear it away, so that way when you drive back, you don't feel like you're time traveling. It's almost like, say you're sitting down, like there was one time, there was a bunch of us in what the guy used to call his smoke dungeon. He was the type of dude who would smoke all day, every day, as much as he can, stick with a job that doesn't require a drug test at all, just so he can continue to do that. With an addictive personality that, like, say, somebody comes over with cocaine, all of a sudden he's got to do cocaine too, and as much as possible to look at me. He would do that with weed to the point where he actually makes himself fucking sick. Well, as far as the slow-mo slash feeling like you're paralyzed shit, we all smoked up a storm, started watching some cartoons or whatever, started feeling good, giggling. Well, as time goes by, you get the munchies. So we all start getting shit from DoorDash. It finally arrives, and we keep joking, oh, the delivery driver's gonna be thinking like, what the fuck is wrong with this person, because of all the different orders coming in, because between me and the rest of us, there was probably a good 6 or 7 different fucking orders all being dropped off at the same place from different locations. And we get the food, we get the notifications and everything, and they ring the doorbell, but we're all too stoned to move. We're paralyzed. Then at least 3 of us kind of like snap out of it, able to go get the food, bring it back down. So we're dispersing the food. That was probably the most stonedest I've ever been. Thank God I did not want to go for a drive, because for me to go down the street probably would have, in my brain, taken about 2 fucking hours. In real life, it'd probably take about 20 minutes, because I'd be going grandma's battery scooters dying slow. Well, we started eating, and everything was like when you watch Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny when he ate the shrooms or whatever. You see like your hand going, and you can see it like shimmering, like there's different hands. And then everything just turned to slow motion. I start eating my food and everybody starts joining in. I take a bite, chew it, swallow it, take a drink, you name it. And then when I'm satisfied, I put it down. Then like 10 minutes later, my brain caught up with me, and the sensation of grabbing the burger, taking the bite, tasting it, swallowing the drink, burping, all came after the fact. I'm like, nope, that's enough for now. So I put the shit away, and I was like, I'm going to bed. They're like, you want to go uptown? I'm like, fuck you. And then the worst is when you combine these two. In my opinion, being crossfaded it was absolutely terrible. Because back when I used to do that type of shit, I would get decently high, and then I would get a little bit more than a buzz going, so you got a little bit of the best of both worlds. Because, peer pressure, they're all doing it, so you just join in with it. Well, I think I had a little bit too much of mixing drinks between soda, water, beer, whiskey, whatever the fuck else I drank that night, and then a good amount of fucking weed. I think I decided to go to a gas station and a couple of stores. I made it to the gas station all right. I went in. I got some smokes. I got, I think, a phone charger because I didn't have one for inside the car. I'm like, all right, things are going good. Let's go to the first store because there are some things I want to get because I'm hungry. I want some snacks. I want some drinks. So I go try to get to the store, which is like another 15 minutes away. It felt like it took forever because I'm constantly watching the side streets. I'm also getting stuck at every fucking red light as you seem to do when you need to go somewhere. So I feel like I'm driving too slow because of the paranoia from being high. But then I feel like I'm not driving fast enough because liquid courage gave me the gumption to go. Needless to say, this turned into a fucking beer run because I was like, at least if I do the beer, I'll be alright because at that time I didn't know my limit. So I get to the store finally after agonizing traffic because of the paranoia and everything. I do my shopping, and as I'm shopping, I get what I was looking for and I start getting a little nauseous. And then the highness would make me hungry. And then back and forth. Well, I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. If something happens, something happens. At least I'll be sober enough to make it back home because then the third store can go to hell. Well, false alarm, I guess. I get out of there, hop in the car, go, okay, now that I've calmed down, I feel like I can make it to the last store. I think the last store was something to do with electronics because I had a little bit extra money that day and I think I wanted to get something for one of my game machines or whatever. Maybe it was a speaker, I don't remember. That was like another 10-minute drive, kind of making a big ass circle. And I get to that store barely because by then I'm getting extremely sleepy because you're dehydrated from the booze. And then since I've been active and awake throughout the entirety of also being high, I was getting so fucking exhausted. So I made it to the last store. I go, maybe once I walk in and get the AC in my face, I'll wake up enough to where I can get my shit and go home. So I'm trying to walk fast, build up the adrenaline to make it. I go grab what I wanted to get. And then you're sitting there in line waiting for the cashier because for some reason this electronics store seems to only have one person at the fucking register most of the time. It's like, considering how many people shop here on a daily and you only got 2 registers max and it's only half filled, that's kind of stupid. Do better. But the line's taking forever. There's like 10 of us plus one cashier. As you're waiting, the adrenaline goes away. So then you start getting the sleepy again. Then you start getting the alcohol sweats. You get a little paranoid thinking maybe, oh, can this guy tell if I'm drunk or something? Can he tell if I'm high? Or am I just thinking too much? Am I saying this out loud? Like the paranoia is running hot. I don't know why. This is just like a really shit situation this day. I finally make it through the cash register, and I'm like, well, that was fucking scary. Am I going to be able to make it home, or am I going to have to sleep in this fucking truck for a little bit? I get into the vehicle, and I go, okay, I'm awake. I just need to drive the last 5 minutes back to the house, and I'll be fine. I start going, and I'm doing alright. And then it started playing between nauseous, hungry again. I'm like, can we just fucking pick one? I'd rather be hungry or nauseous. Because if I'm hungry, I can wait. If I'm nauseous, I can pull over, get this shit over with. But no. After a couple of, like a minute or two of that, it switched to me getting so fucking sleepy and nauseous. Where the nauseousness was keeping me from falling asleep, but the sleepiness was almost winning. I had to pull over, I think, once just in case, and again, false alarm. I don't get it. And then I get into the driveway. I just sit there with the AC on full blast, music blaring with the windows up, and just breathe and breathe and breathe until the nauseousness subsided. I went inside. I go, I'm never fucking doing that again. Because I was scared shitless the entire time because my brain was going 1,000 miles a minute. And I almost fucking fell asleep or puked how many times. At least if I were to do that at home, I'm less than a few steps, give or take a couple, from the toilet. I'd at least be able to make it. So, if there's anything to learn from that, in case you already did or already knew, don't drink and drive, and don't smoke and drive. They're both unsafe. But you do what you want to do. At some of that shit was actually really fun because it's kind of like when it comes to sports, sometimes a little bit of enhancement can give you a little bit more enjoyment. So, I'd like to thank all the people for watching my videos throughout the last few months. I'd like to hear some of your stories in the comments, whether it be good, bad, funny, whatever. If you like the video, drop a like and a follow. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, give it a subscribe, put that bell on. I'd also like to thank my family for letting me borrow some of their stories again. I'd like to thank myself for not engaging in that type of shit anymore because it's always a risk, whether it be your safety or others. Especially if you're like me and you have kids, you don't want to put them through that type of shit either. And lastly, I'd like to just give a shout out to Michael Slattery at Unqualified Opinions. If you want to go watch his material, he's got a bunch of shit on his channel on Facebook. He's also got his music label, his music career, and his movie that he's working on. So go check out all that. And as always, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.